All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. This feels like it might be a rough episode right here because things are not looking good on Tilray, and really things are not looking good across most of the sector. I had the biggest expectations for 2024. If you watch my videos, I'm a daily, weekly kind of guy, right? I'm very short term minded. I made my thoughts about weed for the year, and I really expected this like political climate to do so much more, right? When I go to the monthly chart, it was in the 2000 election, and you can see right around the October, November, December, that's when it really took off, right? Maybe we still need to wait for the October, November, December that hasn't quite come yet, right? And hey, even in October of that election year, we were actually still at the bottom. It wasn't until closer to the end of the year that the takeoff happened. So hey, maybe that'll be the case here. But yeah, just at the bare minimum, I just can't believe how close Tilray is to this all-time lows 151 line, right? And I'll talk about more technical shortly, right? But just as a whole, just wildly disappointed. But I think it's important to look at that view and say, hey, maybe we're still waiting for after the elections, because maybe, and again, let me just go to the view one more time. When was the actual first up candle? This was, you could see at by the end of November, right? I'm clicking into the good candle over the 8 moving average. It ends on November 30th, 2020, right? So maybe we're still a month away from the move, right? But oh my goodness, okay? We'll look at most of them. The one I remembered looking like an outlier, and it actually still is. This is promising. High tide is looking interesting, right? We just saw Tilray under all moving averages. This one's actually trying to hold and stay above and really confirm above all, right? So there's an outlier here and there, and obviously I'll cover them all. But oh man, as a whole, this sector isn't where I sincerely expected it to be. You know what I mean? So but yeah, before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term, excuse me. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal, there's some up here too. There are horizontal supports and resistances that I draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So I think I'm going to cluster most of these together because look, Tilray, under all 5 moving averages. CGC, it's trying, but definitely closer to, and I think it actually did close. Yeah, it's close to, but basically knocking on the door of under all the moving averages, right? Where's ACB at? All right, ACB is holding up a little bit better right there. MSOS, oh man, knocking at the door of under all 5 moving averages, right? SNDL, where are you? All right, so it looks like Tilray, CGC, and MSOS look the same, so that'll be the first chapter. ACB and SNDL seem like the second chapter, and then I started the video with it. High tide is the clear outlier, right? So let's get into this first group, and man, this first group has me worried, okay? You know, I love this sector, okay? I can't stress that enough. However, I'm here doing the best I can to be impartial, all right? I work hard for my money, all right? I really do. I am not given free paychecks, and I'm not giving my money away to some stock just like that, right? I gotta earn my money. I could get fired at any day. Believe me, these stocks need to earn my money. Otherwise, I'll fire them, which is essentially sell, right? So you know I'm never here to use the words buy, sell, hold, but for me, you gotta start winning the battle with the moving averages before I would even consider anything, okay? And man, Tilray's been looking just tough, right? This 162 line, I know I talked about it a lot. There was a hit right here, a hit right here, two hits right there, a hit right there, a hit right there. This thing has been a support, a support, a support, a support, a support, a support. A support can only hold so many times before the line is going to lose strength, right? I talk about Jenga a lot. There's this old game back in the day called Don't Break the Ice. You can only go after a certain area so many times. Otherwise, the Jenga tower is going to crumble, right? The ice blocks are going to fall and that little penguin in the middle is going to fall, right? Like this 162 was a monster. This 162 had strength for almost a year and a change, right? It could only do so much, and we're kind of now at an interesting place, right? Now, that's not the best 1-2 candle for me to necessarily believe that we've confirmed the loss, okay? However, I really would have liked to, at least at the minimum, right, do what CGC was doing. It actually isn't even doing it that well. Let me just stay here and I'll go back to this one, right? Like, make me believe you were going to try to at least take the 8. That's just, I'm not like, look, I know 35 seems really low on the RSI. As I zoom out and zoom out and zoom out, look, it wasn't that long ago. It was in May and June. This thing had an RSI of 15. This thing had an RSI of 7 back in June of 7. Get out of here. And this thing was basically living down here at RSI of like 20-ish, right? So 35 still has some way to go to drop if it wants, and it makes me believe it will because the 8's coming down, the 20's coming down. I think, excuse me, the 50's about to come down. Now look, this 151 should have a lot of strength, okay? And arguably, it should have more strength than this one because generally speaking, the all-time low line is a strong line. It tries to do its best to protect the stock from going down into that black hole vortex. But man, this daily has me scared. This weekly has me scared. Interesting. The weekly RSI doesn't get too low. That's real far away, so I don't even want to look at that. In the last 2 years, we've been down there, but it seems like the low. I mean, 27 ish. I think has been the lowest it's been. Hopefully that's as low as it goes, and hopefully that's kind of saying that maybe this 151 will hold pretty well. But oh man, when the daily's under all the moving averages, when the weekly's under all, break all 5 and fly, lose all 5 and die, right? And that's basically what's been happening here and seems to be continuing to happen here, right? So, um, ah, man, I think the one thing I'll do though, because I kind of mentioned it, this 200 moving average has been flat for the longest time. It is now starting to take a little bit of a lower slope, so I think I'm comfortable lowering this to here. Let's raise it just a little more. Let me get into that candle. 198. I would not touch Tilray until it broke $1.98. Again, I'm not here to say buy. I'm not here to say hold. One more thing too. Invest. Linda, where are you, girl? I know you just said it. Nope. Hold on. Investor. Is it Tor? I can't spell. Linda, I know. Okay, right here. All right. We were talking about weed. I was saying some not positive things. Like I'm saying here, look, end of the day, there are others that are investors in the sector and not traders, right? For me, I'm not a fan of being hopeful. Like that's not what I do with my hard-earned money. But yeah, believe me, if you're an investor, there's a part of me that sincerely believes this will all be as important as cigarettes and as beer and all those other vices that do really well, right? But oh man, there's so much red tape holding it, and more than anything, man, this thing's not beating the moving averages. All right. The last thing I'm gonna say one last time. All right. It wasn't until end of November of the election year that we actually broke the 8 moving average on the monthly and started to make our climb. Okay, we're at a place where hey, we're close to it. We're clearly under it, right? But let's see if we can follow that. Otherwise, if we lose 151, this will go into the all-time low black hole vortex, and it's going to lose 20% after 20% after 20% after 20%. That's just what all-time lows does. All right, so we cannot go under the death line. All right, so I'll chapter Tilray on its own. CGC is going to have pretty much the exact same thoughts, okay? CGC has two things going for it, and again, there are different risk-reward tolerances and this and that, right? But one thing you hear me say often is you fall away from the 8, you come to the 8. You fall away from the 8, you come to the 8. You fall away, you come to. Maybe at some point you can get back to the 20, and then you end up coming back, right? This thing was falling away from the 8 and made a move to the 8. Maybe there was a reason to think it was going to go there. Personally, I wouldn't even consider this thing until it got over 450 something. You know what I mean? Like, get me over the 8 and the 20, make me believe we're going to come to the 50. That's a maybe. Trying to go from here to here, I just don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze. And again, when I see Tilray under all the moving averages, kind of looking at the door of all-time lows, man, it's hard for me to believe in CGC. You know what I mean? We're not that far from that all-time low line either. I actually don't have a death line drawn. I guess I should probably draw one. Man, it's basically this. It's basically literally at all-time. Oh, come on, baby. Right around there. We'll draw this red again. I'm not here for perfect, right? Clearly that's not a perfect line, but good enough is going to save you or make you a lot. Believe me when I say that, all right? So by no means am I thinking under $3 just yet. However, we cannot lose 375, right? At this moment, what I'm expecting is this thing to actually reject the 8 and head on down, okay? It's interesting to see the green over red on both the MACD and the RSI, because maybe that's enough reason to actually say, no, 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 this thing actually wants to go up to 440. I just don't know if I'm a believer, mainly because of this volume. I am just not liking the last, 3, 6, 8 days of volume. Clearly, those are all right there. But even beyond that, just this entire view is bad volume, right? So volume's not looking good. The moving averages aren't looking good. I think both of those are going to supersede the green over red on the MACD and the RSI. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, like I said, Tilray is not looking good. So yeah, CGC has me worried, to say the least, all right? We cannot lose 375. I'm going to say that one more time. You know, it's interesting. The weekly is actually saying maybe there's a shot at 450, right? Again, you go away from the 8, you come to the 8. You go away from the 8, maybe it'll come to the 8, right? And that 450 is basically that 20. So, hey, maybe I am wrong here, but this one just worries me more than it excites me, all right? Next one I want to look at is MSOS, and I know I don't really look at MSOS enough, but oh man, this one is scary right here, right? We are in a cluster. Look, 3 of the 5 is more than 50%, right? We are just going from the top to the bottom, to the top to the bottom, to the top to the bottom. Like, we're just in this tornado of 3 lines. We were hoping to escape it and head on up, but it actually kind of seems like we're about to get a 4th line in it and make it a bigger tornado with 4 lines in it, right? So MSOS just kind of seems to be at the mercy of the lines right now. And again, I think looking at Tilray, looking at CGC, it's tough for me to believe that MSOS is going to do anything good, right? Let's look at the top 4. TrueLeave, number 1. Where are you at, TrueLeave? Okay, TrueLeave doesn't look horrible. TrueLeave is actually over all 5 moving averages and actually holding the 8 and the 20 pretty well. I'm seeing the 50 go up. That's really interesting, actually. TrueLeave looks good. Where are you on the weekly? That's not a bad weekly either. Do you have a 200 moving average up there? You do. Interesting. Okay, where's CURLF? CURL. Where's CURLF? Oh, CURLF looks horrible. CURLF is clearly erasing all the good from TrueLeave. CURLF is living under all 5 moving averages while TrueLeave is going up. Oh, that's horrible. Where is Cresco? Cresco. Another one, right? So 1 of the 3 has been good. 2 of the 3 have been under all 5 moving averages. Not a good MACD, not a good RSI, and bad volume. What's the last one? VRNOF Holdings. Oh, man. 3 of the 4 are under all 5. TrueLeave looks good. Trueleaf looks good, but the problem is when you're an ETF like MSOS, you're taking the average of them all, right? And yeah, you want to hope that the average kind of balances it out, but yeah, right now the average is dragging it. I will say MSOS itself looks better than the other three, right? Those other three were kind of diving pretty hard, so Trueleaf's doing a pretty good job, but man, MSOS is looking tough to say the least, all right? So yeah, I think that's it for this. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's come into high tide. High tide is the outlier in the bunch right now, all right? And this one is going to get its own little separate chapter because none of the normal ones look like this, okay? So not the best, but way, way, way better than the other ones, all right? So real quick, if you can please subscribe, if you can share, it does wonders, all right? So first and foremost, the biggest difference is we are over all 5 moving averages, right? Break all 5 and fly is one of my catchphrases, and that is what it is trying to do, right? My issue is good candle, no confirmation. Good candle, no confirmation. Good candle, no confirmation. I'll call this a decent candle because we at least got over the biggest one to the left, but man, we're still nowhere near confirming, right? So I can see us kind of coming back to, yeah, roughly 233, but I think there's more upside than downside, and I think there's more reason to think we're going to want to test this 250, right? Hopefully we can at least come to up here. I think 240 is still what we want. I believe that's what I said on one of my last either lives or something, and that's kind of why I was saying this is a decent candle, not quite the best, right? Like I would have loved to get to the top of this right here. So I'd say 240 is the goal. If you can get 240, I still believe 240 will be behind it. Our RSI is only at 71, so that's not too bad at all, right? Again, if this was going to come down, I can see it coming down to that like 233-ish. As long as we're over this 227, I think it's actually wildly bullish. My problem is if we lose this, we might fall back into the cluster, and I don't want to fall into the cluster, right? I want to that was literally where I ended on the last one, right? MSOS, just top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom. Like I don't want, I hate clusters of moving averages, right? High tide's trying to escape it. So don't lose this line because, yeah, green, 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 red, 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 green, green, green could bring us right back down in it. And those are very hard to escape, right? But hey, it seems like we're trying to make what was a resistance, what was a resistance, what was a resistance, what was a resistance, hopefully maybe becomes a support if needed. Otherwise, we'll just kind of take off and see what happens at this 250 line. So high tide, a very, very nice outlier. I think the last thing to end it with, volumes looking nice. It wasn't that long ago we were all the way down here, then all of a sudden we come to here, we obviously get a nice little big spike, and hey, as we've stabilized, we're actually still higher than that secondary lift point, right? So to me, as volume stabilizes at a better peak, oh, that's a lovely thing. Clearly that's been echoed with that nice sustained uptrend right there, right? So high tide looking really, really good on the daily. High tide looking good on the weekly. Over what, 4 of the 5? Yeah, the 5th one's all the way up there. This thing hasn't confirmed yet, but yeah, make me believe we've broken this, and 330 is where this thing might be in a couple weeks. You know what I mean? So 250 is a big, big line. This one's yellow for a reason. It's obviously not an all-time high line, but man, break this well, and like I said, 330 in a couple weeks could be realistic actually. So high tide looking good, and again, most of us, including myself, liked the last earnings, didn't believe that the drop right there was justified. Hey, maybe this is kind of showing that's truth. And hey, I think the same was said for the earnings before and the earnings before that as well, right? So nice to see this outlier right here. All right, so let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. I think the last two we'll look at ACB and SNDL, and you can see they're not quite as bad as that first bunch, right? They're at least holding some lines, ACB right there, SNDL right here, and I think more importantly, they're holding the 200 moving average. I think that's the bigger story with those two, all right? So Real quick, if you can subscribe, if you can share, oh man, it'd be much, much appreciated. When I looked at Tilray at the beginning, we were under all five and the 200 was all the way up here. When we looked at CGC, it was basically under all five and the 200 was all the way up here. When we looked at MSOS, same exact, under all five, 200 up here. It's nice to see the inverse where the 200 is at the bottom and the 200 is catching us, right? This is the strongest line. This is the last line for a reason. It's hard to break up and it's actually hard to lose down, right? And so far, that's been the case for a little more than most the month of October, right? So I'm glad to see that hold. I'm glad to see not as hard a hold because, hey, maybe the SNDL, if we were to come down, can still mimic what we just saw here and maybe live on the line for a bit, right? So I would say SNDL looks a little bit better compared to the 200 moving average, right? But both of them are at least using the line well and at least trying their best to take over one, two, or more lines, right? Neither looks amazing, right? Here you can see we do have a negative MACD and a relatively flat RSI and clearly not the best of volumes, right? ACB, I remember saying I really like the earnings. I'm quite surprised that we're all the way down here from the earnings. So maybe even earnings was this doji. I don't quite remember, but yeah, I am at the bare bone minimum. I'm surprised we're under the earnings moment, especially because it was a good earnings. But yeah, sorry, I'm looking. Look, I don't think. Let me see. I can do this at least. Let me lower you to here. No, that's too high. I'll go here. I'll go here. Basically, the top of those two candles. I think I would avoid ACB until 1613. That'll get me over all five moving averages. I'm going to delete this line right here. There's too many moving averages in there. I don't think it's going to be that important, actually. So I would love this over 1613. I would be crazy scared under 513 for ACB. SNDL, again, I'm hoping that this 200 moving average has more strength because, hey, you can see we haven't even really hit it with a candle, right? Let me just zoom out. Those were just wicks right there, and all that is nothing but black in between, right? So we actually haven't even used the line technically, right? So hopefully there's more strength. Hopefully it'll take a lot before we go under 191. Obviously, what we're looking for is to get over that. I think I'm comfortable lowering this line a little bit. What do you look like? Is that too low? That's way too low. Where are you at? Is that where I just was? Let's take that. I'll take that. Basically, half of that, almost the top of that, kind of the tops of those. 210. I like SNDL over 210. I think it's really hard to like it under 210 at the moment. All right. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.